I'm a 911 dispatcher. Someone called in a missing persons report on themselves. The voice on the phone was mine. Okay, so I debated posting this for like 3 days, and I still don't know if I should, but I can't keep it in my head anymore, so here goes. I've worked night shift dispatch for 6 years. You hear everything in this job, and after a while, it kind of stops hitting you the same way. Overdoses, domestics. A guy once called because he was convinced his fish was having a seizure. You become like a voice in a machine. You stop being a person almost. Anyway, Tuesday night, slow shift, 2 a.m.-ish. Call comes in from a number with an area code I didn't recognize. Happens all the time with cells, so I just picked up. 911, what's your emergency? Small pause. Woman's voice goes, I need to report a missing person. Normal. I go into the routine. Name, description, last seen. Her name is Sarah Okafor. That's my name. I figured coincidence. It's not a super common name, but it's not impossible. I kept going. In your relationship to the missing person? Another pause. I am her. Okay, so here's the thing. I know what my voice sounds like. I've heard it on recordings and training videos, and I have a voicemail greeting I set up years ago and I cringe at every time. I know the specific way I talk and when I'm trying to stay calm. It was me. It was my voice. I kept my face neutral and did everything right. Ran the trace, flagged my supervisor, kept it talking. 6 years of training just kicks in, but inside I was not okay. I need your location so I can send help. You know where I am. I need you to tell me, ma'am. Sarah. And she said my name exactly the way I say it to myself when I do something dumb, like this tired, quiet way. You know where I am. You've always known. You just stopped looking. And then she said that I'd been gone since September 14th, that I went to work that night and never really came back, that I've just been going through the motions since then. And here's where it got to me, because September 14th was the night my mom called and I didn't pick up. My dad had been in the hospital, and I went to work the next night anyway and just kind of kept going. I hadn't thought about that in months. The trace result came back and my supervisor walked it over to me with this look on his face, and I don't have words for the look. It was my home address. I live alone. And then she said, come find me. It's really dark in here. And the call dropped. I drove home after my shift. I told myself I wouldn't, but I did. Everything looked normal, nothing out of place. Except I have this full-length mirror on the back of my bedroom door. I've had it for years. I walked past it and something made me stop. My reflection was already looking at me before I turned toward it. Not by a lot, but like barely half a second. But enough. Like it had been waiting and didn't manage to hide it in time. I haven't gone back inside since. I'm writing this from my car outside my building. I've been here for 2 hours. I keep picking up my phone to call someone and then putting it down. But the thing I can't stop thinking about isn't even the mirror. It's what she said about September 14th. Because she was right, and I know she was right. I've been walking around for 8 months like a recording of myself just playing on loop and not actually being here. And maybe she wasn't trying to scare me. Maybe she was trying to get help. I don't know which one is worse, honestly. And there's something in my apartment wearing my face. Or that it might actually be me in there. The real one. And I'm the copy. I have to go back, and eventually I know that. My smoke alarm keeps going off at 2:13 a.m., but it's not on the ceiling. I didn't notice the smell at first. That's what bothers me now. You'd think smoke would be obvious. It wasn't. It started at 2:13 a.m. One sharp chirp. Not the full alarm, just a single beep. The kind you get when the battery's dying. I sat up in bed and waited for it to happen again. Nothing. I checked my phone, power was fine, no outage alerts in the area. The detector in the hallway wasn't flashing red. I stepped into the hallway and looked at it. No smoke, no blinking light. I pressed the test button. It screened immediately, so it worked. I reset it and stood there listening. Silence. I went back to bed. At 2:27 a.m., it chirped again. Same single beep. I got up immediately this time. The smell hit me when I opened my bedroom door. Faint. Not fresh smoke. Not burning plastic. It smelled like old ash, like a fire that had already gone out. It wasn't strong enough to set anything off, but it was there. I checked the stove, the oven, the toaster, every outlet I could see. I opened the breaker panel, nothing. At 2:41 a.m., it tripped again. But this time, it didn't come from the hallway. It came from the living room. I don't have a smoke detector in the living room. I froze in the hallway and listened. No second beep, just silence. The smell was stronger toward the living room, still faint but concentrated, like it was settling low. I didn't turn on the lights. I walked toward the doorway slowly. The couch is where it always is, the TV off, no haze in the air, and the hallway detector chirped behind me, and a second chirp answered it, from inside the living room. Not from the ceiling, lower, at about chest height. The sound was directional, it had a location, roughly 8 feet in front of me. There's nothing mounted there, no shelf, no fixture, just open space between the couch and the coffee table. I stepped into the room. The air felt warmer the closer I got. Not hot, but noticeably warmer than the hallway, like standing near coals hours after a fire. Another chirp, directly in front of me. Same height, same spot. I held my breath and stepped closer. A hardwood creaked under my weight. The smell intensified for a second. Old ash, dry and stale. Then every smoke detector in the house went off at once. Hallway, bedroom, kitchen, full volume, screaming. I stumbled backward and hit the wall. The warm spot in the room disappeared instantly. The smell vanished. The air felt normal again. The alarms kept going for about 30 seconds. I turned on every light in the house. There was no smoke, no haze, no heat coming from anywhere. My neighbor's porch lights came on across the street. The alarms eventually stopped on their own. I stood in the middle of the living room staring at the space where the chirping had been coming from. Nothing was there. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. At sunrise, I checked the hardwood where it had been standing. There was a faint circular discoloration in the finish, about 2 feet wide. Subtle, slightly darker than the rest of the floor. It wasn't a shadow. It didn't move when the light changed. By noon, it was gone. I replaced every smoke detector in the house the next day. Brand new units, fresh batteries. I even checked the attic to make sure there wasn't something old up there. There wasn't. Last night I woke up at 2:12 a.m. No alarm yet, no smell. I was already sitting up in bed waiting. At 2:13, I heard the first chip. Didn't come from the ceiling, came from the hallway, from somewhere close to the door. And the smell was stronger this time. Not smoke, not plastic, just old ash. My dad told me to never enter the garage at night. Now I know why. Though strange, I always abided by that rule. It didn't make much sense to me. What could possibly be going on that I wasn't supposed to see? Whatever he did there for hours every night was a mystery to me. Things changed when I started hearing the sounds. Clicking, grinding parts, wet squelches, low groans, all coming from the other side of that garage door. I heard it when I snuck out one night, pressed my ear against the sliding door. It sent a pinprick wave down my spine. I asked my dad the next morning if he had been busy in the garage last night. The mood change in the room was instant and palpable. His cold glare was enough to shut down my question. He was never a violent man, but I knew at that moment he could become one. I snuck outside and listened through the garage door a few more times over the next couple of weeks. I heard the same sounds each time. I tried to picture in my head what was going on. I wondered if he was a serial killer. The thought ran my blood cold. I made and acted out a plan to see what was going on. In the daylight, while my parents were preparing for dinner, I carefully raised the garage door and lowered it just far enough to look closed while still having a tiny, almost imperceptible gap at the bottom. After Mom went to bed around 1 a.m., I snuck outside and went to the garage door. I could hear footsteps on the other side. I laid down flat on my belly over the rough driveway, my face squished up to the door. I could just barely see into the room. I saw him walk over to a shelf and grab a black container. He unscrewed the cap. He then raised it above my field of view, which only extended as high as his upper arm. Thick, laborious gulps, on the verge of gagging. He was drinking something. I saw long, yellow, vicious drips form and fall down the front of his shirt and onto the floor, making a small pool. Motor oil. He was chugging motor oil. It made me queasy just hearing it. My stomach formed a knot. It felt hard and weighty as I laid there on the cold cement. I couldn't stand it. I got up and left. I didn't sleep that night. My stomach still hurt the next morning, the knot refusing to leave. It was hard to look at my dad after that. He creeped me out. After seeing that, he just looked different. I noticed the rigid, slow way he carried himself and spoke. It was just odd. The next night I was back. I had raised the door a little higher, just enough to see his whole body. I prayed that he wouldn't notice. He entered, walked straight to the toolbox, grabbed the power drill, took off his shirt, turned away from me. I saw him raise the drill to his chest. I hoped the pavement would conceal my intense heartbeat. The drill made progress on something solid but fleshy. It sounded wet. After a few seconds, I heard and saw a bloody screw ping as it fell to the floor. Then another. Then I heard those jaw-clenching, popping sounds, like bones being snapped out of place. He turned back to the toolbox, giving me a profile view. I could see his chest, swung open like a cabinet door. A rectangle of hairy skin faced me. The light diffusing through revealed the workings of a rib cage, and then something else, thin and dark under the skin, like wires. My wide, unblinking eyes witnessed as he pried around and tooled with whatever was behind that cabinet door of flesh. I'd occasionally hear an odd terror snap, followed by quick, painful groans and heavy breathing. Sometimes blood would drip down, other times more yellow fluid would. He eventually closed it up and left. The knot in my stomach felt bigger, harder. It hurt. I was nauseous. I fought back the urge to vomit right there. I talked to my mom the next day while we were walking through the grocery store together. Has Dad seemed weird lately? Weird? What do you mean? She turned to me, her brow furrowed. Like, is he okay medically? Physically? My nervous eyes diverted contact. She scoffed. Your father is a strong man, you know that. Where's this coming from? I just wonder, sometimes, about what he does in the garage all the time. I said, my voice quieting to a whisper. Her voice took on a brighter tone. Honey, he's more than okay. He's growing, big and strong, just like I did, just like you are now. She pressed her finger on my nose and made a sickly, sweet smile. My stomach spasmed, and I knew if I pressed more, I'd be left even more confused. Regardless, her last statement left me bewildered. Growing into what? I told around some ideas and worries in my head as I stared at the ceiling each night, unable to sleep anymore. My stomach pains had progressed to the point of regular Tums consumption, but it remained. I pleaded with myself really, that this was all just be a misunderstanding, and I just needed to squash my doubts. Eventually, I decided on action. A few nights after the conversation with my mom, I entered the garage just prior to midnight before my dad showed up. I found a pile of boxes with the blue tarp strewn over and hid my body within it. It was just at the right angle to allow myself a full view of my dad from front on, assuming he were to face the same direction as last time. I waited for 2 hours, with vain, throbbing anxiety. When I heard the door swing open, I nearly had a heart attack. He went about the same routine procedure. Toolbox, power drill, shirt off. Raised the drill, screwdriver bit locking in place over a hard groove under the skin. He pulled the trigger. The thin flesh tore instantly, wrapping around a bit and flailing loosely. Beneath lay a small, bloody screw. It quickly spun off his chest and fell to the floor. I could see his grimace. He repeated the same procedure lower on his chest with the second screw. When the other screw fell, he dug his nails under a ridge on the right side of his ribs. Between the screw holes, he pulled hard. I clenched my jaw and my teeth felt as though they could shatter at any moment. Rubbery flesh stretched and snapped. Rib bones popped and creaked. The door to his chest was opening. Stringy blood and oil and mucus dripped down, and I was hit with a wave of the smell that reeked of gasoline, burnt hair, and cleaning chemicals. Then I saw the inside. His chest was full of these interlacing, shiny, metallic pistons, gears, belts, black tubes, all coated in this brownish-reddish slime. A tangle of coppery wire snaked around the blackened, shivering lung. It expanded with each shuddering breath. There was no other human organs discernible among that mess at all. I gagged involuntarily. My hand moved to cover my mouth, my knuckles a blistering white. My heart worked overtime. He looked down, straight at the opening at the bottom of the tarp, straight at me. His hand grabbed the fleshy door and slammed it shut, clicking it back into place, flimsy skin still hanging around the edges. He squatted down and lifted the tarp. "Son," he whispered, his dark eyes trained on me intensely. I couldn't come up with an excuse. I'd gone too far. "I told you not to come in here, didn't I?" He shook his head angrily. "You just had to know, didn't you? You're no different than your mother." I tried to scoot backwards, but I ran into a box. "Does this scare you?" "It should." He folded his arm over his mangled chest. "You are my son. You are me." "What do you mean?" I felt the knot in my stomach with my hand, feeling its weight and hardness. "You get it now, huh?" His lips curled into a smile. "Don't tell anyone about this. Family secret," he said, raising a dripping wet finger to his mouth, shushing me. I got up on unstable legs and ran out of the room. After I went into my room and locked my door, I had to know. I grabbed my pocket knife. My quivering hand guided the blade over the knot. I cut into myself, a hot pain radiating across my stomach. An inch-long incision was all I needed. The skin peeled back, forming a football-shaped opening. I saw a black tube, hard, plastic, covered in the same bloody mucus. It was deeply rigid and bent. I poked it, feeling its immovable warm mass. At that moment, I almost felt oddly comforted by it. I'm sending this here because I can't keep the secret. I'm terrified, but I'm excited too. I want to share this with people. It must be what my mom said. I'm growing, just like my dad. I'll be big and strong soon.